Hello everybody, and it's a warm welcome, literally, from me, John Hindorf, to the streets of Detroit, Motor Town in Michigan. Great to have your company as we are once again in sprint mode for just 1.7 miles and 9 corners, using some of the old Grand Prix circuit. Not much, but enough to have the connection between those great Formula One races of the past. No longer on the Belle Isle. We missed that circuit. The last couple of seasons we've been down there, which actually is quite cool because you can go out and have a nice meal and still be watching over the circuit. Action areas at turn 1, then down at the bottom of Jefferson Avenue at turn 3, which is a hairpin down there. Then you come back onto Bates Street, down onto Atwater, which is the part of the track which is the old circuit, down through turns 5, 6, 7. Trouble at turn 8, where there's a big bump in the braking area. Turn left there, and then onto the start finish. Or should I say the restart and finish line, because this, like Mid-Ohio, where we'll be next weekend for the Michelin Pilot Challenge, is a racetrack that has a different finish line to where we start. We'll start on Jefferson Avenue, but we will finish on effectively the pit straight, except because everything's different here because it's Detroit. The pit straight is not the pit straight. The pit straight is a split pit with the cars either side of the car park, actually behind the JW Hotel on Franklin, just off to the right-hand side of Franklin as you come off the final corner, the penultimate corner, should I say. As ever, it's 2 fast and furious qualifying sessions. We'll have the GTD Pros out first for their opportunity to qualify, and the lap records all set last year for these classes, with Tom Milner and the Corvette on a 109.873 for the GTs. They've only been here once before. The previous year, in 2023, it was the Michelin Pilot Challenge, won by Winward Racing, of course, Bryce Ward and Daniel Morad in the AMG. The 2024 race won here by Honda. It is a bit of a Honda track here, actually, because since we've moved downtown, the Indy cars have been won by Honda-powered cars, which is the Acura, of course. It was the Wayne Taylor Racing Acura last year, and they've moved to Cadillac this year. It was the Porsche of Seb Priaulx and Lauren Heinrich who won the GTD category, GTD Pro category, and those 2 cars are, those are the defending manufacturers' champions. Just taking a little bit longer than I think anybody expected to get the Indy cars out. This is the first day of competition, so we've had 2 practice sessions so far, and a lot of people having trouble in the braking areas down at turn 1 and particularly at turn 1, including 2 cars who are going to lose their best laps because they caused a red flag. We had the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac, Jordan Taylor. They're going to lose their fastest lap, and also the Pfaff Motorsport Lamborghini that will lose its fastest lap. They were both off in turn 1, causing a red flag in free practice 1. In free practice 2, I could sit here and give you all the numbers of people who ran on in the various areas of the circuit, turn 1 and turn 8 being the major problems there. Fortunately, none of them, as far as I saw, got the red flag penalty. So the 2 cars ending up down there at turn 1. That's the big Firestone area. Now, what I hadn't realised, looking at the time and scoring, my first opportunity to see the cars on track, that also the number 10 car had been in the wall at one stage. That's Philippe Albuquerque in the other of the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillacs, and also the number 7 Porsche with problems for Nick Tandy. This is the car that's been almost all conquering this year, clouting the wall and losing the rear deck as well. But as I've said, as far as I'm aware, looking at the notice board on the Alcamel part of the circuit, on the part of the timing, should I say, the only 2 cars that will lose their fastest laps in qualifying for causing a red flag is the Pfaff Lamborghini and the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac. Cars are on the track. The countdown has started. Already down under 14 minutes of the 15 minutes to go. A little bit overcast all of a sudden, and the temperatures have dropped. Air temperature 25 Celsius, quite humid, nearly 40%. That's 100 Fahrenheit on the track. That's 41 Celsius in the air. That's 75 Fahrenheit for your 25 Celsius. So now we've got to see who can bring their tyres up to temperature and pressure the best. It is Michelin tyres, of course, for both of the categories this weekend, and a very small allocation this weekend because it's such a short race. For GTD Pro, it is the Pilot Sport Pro H1 category of tyre. 3 sets from now till the end of the race. 4 sets for the whole weekend, and the same for GTP. And by the way, before anybody asks, at IMSA Radio on the socials, hello to all of you, it is a 5-minute driver time when we get back to the race. Everybody out, lots of traffic around the circuit, nice and tight, and I would expect a good 2 or 3 laps before the tyres are at their very best. Now let's see who, if anyone, is putting any fast laps down at the moment. Andrea Caldarelli for Pfaff Motorsport. Well, he's got to do a couple of decent laps, remember, in that Pfaff Lamborghini. Tight and twisty circuit here. AO with the Porsche leading a group of cars down to the hairpin, where they go from Jefferson Avenue East and briefly onto Jefferson Avenue West, then turn hard right down Bate Street onto Atwater through the little chicane. That's the old part of the track. That's what they used back in the day for Formula 1. And as they go through the right, left at 6 and 7, just on the left-hand side, and the Amos is a lovely waterfront, just where these cars are now. Lovely waterfront restaurant. Had some very good lamb chops there many years ago when we were there for Belle Isle, because that was a short walk from our downtown hotel. Through the restart area, turning right onto Franklin, then onto Rivard is the left, and then back onto the long start straight. So miles away from the timing at the moment. If you are just joining us, welcome along to the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. It's John Hindhaugh solo for you this weekend, with both Ryan Marine and Peter Mackay on assignment elsewhere. However, they will be joining us for our Le Mans coverage, which starts next weekend with our exclusive test day coverage. We'll also have that 4-hour Michelin Pilot Challenge race from mid-Ohio for you. very busy sports car few weeks and endurance few weeks. A 1:13.580 now the mark, and that's Jack Hawksworth for Vassar Sullivan Racing in the Lexus, from Dan Harper in the Paul Miller Racing BMW. Dan, former, well, actually no, BMW Works driver, isn't he? The affable Irishman. Already had a test at the start of the season in Qatar. Had a test in the hypercar. Now, last time out, of course, AO being the defending race winners in GT, and Aaron has reminded me that it's Roxy again this weekend. Now, Rexy got the gold teeth for his wins. Roxy decided that was a bit bling and has gone for a gold fingernail instead. Fingernails. So that is the reward and the souvenir for the victory for the Porsche. Number 77, Klaus Bachler, behind the wheel of that car. Third position for that car at the moment. Hawksworth down to a 12.8. So still time to come, I would say, with those crowds threatening. We're not going to get a wet qualifying session for the prototypes, are we? Friday, Saturday event here, just the race tomorrow to come. The track nowhere near rubbered in. All of the Indy cars having massive problems with the street markings. Very, very slippery. A mixture of rubber going down here between the various series. And whilst IMSA have had two sessions here, still nowhere near the track evolution that you would expect. Hello to Jack Reid, says, why did we stop racing at Belle Isle? Who's just tweeted at IMSA Radio. This track looks like an industrial car park. Well, actually, as I said, part of this is the old street track that Formula One used to use. BMW on that at the moment. Their little short shoot up back past the pits, down Frankton, that's all the same pot. They used to go straight down Atwater and then double back on themselves, but this is a much shorter circuit. The simple fact is that when Detroit Grand Prix was at Belle Isle, Penske Events, who were the promoters, put an awful lot of money into redeveloping Belle Isle and made it a much nicer place. And unfortunately, now that it's a much nicer place, they don't want the race cars back. Tight to the wall for the Pfaff Motorsports Lamborghini, and Ferrari facing the wrong direction for Dragon Speed. This is Rasmus Lind in the yellow and purple number 81, and that is down at turn 4, just before you turn right onto Bate Street. So he's come off Jefferson Avenue West and just gassed it up. He's kissed the wall, broken the right suspension even before he hit the left-hand side. He was in traffic following one of the Mustangs and just hit the Chevrolet signage on driver's right, and that broke the rear control arm. This will be a red flag. We've only had 9 minutes. Now, this could be a problem. They'll lose both of their fastest laps because they've caused a red flag during qualifying. AMR safety crew already en route, and poor Rasmus Lind knows what a mistake he's made. He's going to end up starting at the back of the 11 cars. In fact, his times have already been removed from Alcamel's timing screen. Nico tweets at IMSA Radio, if it rains in Detroit, will the rubber build up from the tyres be washed away and grip back to zero? I don't think there's that much grip, to be honest, Nico, at the moment. We've had just a little bit of running today. The track will be at its best in the last 15, 20 laps of Sunday's IndyCar race. Certainly not for us here tomorrow. And the 100-minute race for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. We have not had enough green flag running to make this a legitimate qualifying session. If we don't get to that timing, we weren't far away, but if we don't get to that time, then we will start in this category on championship positions. Everybody else in the pit lane, and I'm not sure what Rasmus Lind was gesticulating at the safety crew for. He's got a broken car. It's not just he's facing the wrong direction. He's not going to be able to drive that. He's right rear. Yeah, he's got out the club. They got out the car. Anti-social club there. About is their apparel sponsor, and this is going to need a flatbed. Yeah, they've got the rollback already there. Excellent work from Track Services and the IMSA AMR safety team with the Chevy IMSA safety trucks in the shadow of the Renaissance Centre, which is the global headquarters of General Motors. A couple of really cool things around the track. About a third of the way down, Jefferson is on the run down from turns 2 to 3, is a monument to where the Buick Motor Company first was. The Chevrolet one further down, and also there's a monument to Joe Louis as well, Joe the Fist Louis, and that's just beyond the hairpin of Jefferson Avenue, effectively Jefferson Avenue as you're going westbound. So they're going in the wrong direction down Jefferson Avenue until they hit that hairpin, and then they come back. Oh, and then they go in the wrong direction again. No, hang on a minute. Sorry, I've got that wrong. They go in the right direction down both of those bits, of course. Be the wrong direction if it was in the UK. So that hairpin, just to driver's right there, is the monument to Joe Louis. And then they drop down onto Bate Street at Water, up to San Antonio, then turning right onto Franklin, then onto Rivard Street at the end of the pits. That's another 90 left. It's a typical street circuit, isn't it, in terms of flat, 90, flat, 90, hairpin, 90, little chicane down at the Joma Seafood area between 6 and 7, and then, as I say, as that water wiggles around onto the waterfront. They used to go straight on at our turn 8 and then double back and come back onto San Antonio with a right-hander just where the pits is on the other side of the car park that we're using as the pit lane this week, and the split pit lane. And then hard right again onto Franklin. All of that, the old circuit. But then it used to disappear and go a much longer way around. That part of the city streets, those parts of the city streets, not available to us. Just waiting for this to clear. I'm not sure we're going to get this restarted with almost 15 minutes expired, unless IMSA Race Control can negotiate for a bit of extra time. As it stands, we have not yet had a full qualifying session that would be deemed legitimate. Good afternoon. If you're joining us trackside, good to have your company, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. My name's John Hindorf in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. Waiting and checkered flag. So Sebastian Priaulx, by the way, had put Fords 1 and 2. Seb Priaulx and Chris Meese with a 1:10.9 and a 1:11.2. Just before the red flag came out, with Jack Hawksworth for Vassar Sullivan and Lexus number 14. 2 Lexus this weekend. They've once again shuffled the pack, so they've got 2 entries. Normally have 1 in GTD and 1 in GTD Pro. I don't think those times are going to stand for anything, because I don't think we've had enough time in green in this session. So IMSA reserved the right to set the grid by other means. Normally the first choice is championship positions. They could use either of the free practice sessions that we had earlier today. Now, just heard from race control, outstanding stuff. They've been told that they can extend the time to achieve the guaranteed minimum. So that's really good news for Ford Multimatic Racing. I don't think they need much. I think they need about a minute, possibly even less than that. So they may just roll cars out and put the checkered flag out without anybody actually getting onto a flying lap. We were just shy of a minute short of it, I reckon. But that's really good news for Seb Priaulx, Ford driver from Guernsey in the Channel Islands, just to the south of the UK, closer to the coast of France than it is the UK. The Dragon Spade Ferrari has been loaded up onto the rollback. And we have GTP to come with a new look on the pit stand for Porsche Penske Motorsport. It's been turmoil for Roger Penske and his team over the last 7 days, with the problems that they had at Indianapolis last weekend for the Indy 500. Roger is not a happy man at the moment. And coming into a massive part of the sports car season, this race here, then off to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They also run the FIA World Endurance Championship part of Porsche Penske Motorsport, a race that has not been won by Porsche for quite some time. They're shooting for their 20th overall victory this year. And Tim Cindric in particular, now no longer part of that organisation after the shenanigans at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Well, Tim was a hugely instrumental part in the sports car programme. It remains to be seen what effect that will have. We'll have coverage of the test day in a week's time, live on our sister service, radiolemans.com. By the way, for those of you watching, listening now, heading to the track early, we'll have our usual test, our usual scrutineering programs, as well as that live coverage on the Sunday, so Friday and Saturday. And if you're at the track at Le Mans, 91.2 FM, we'll fire that up for you for the whole of the week as we decant our whole broadcast service into Department 72 for 10 days or so. Then it's off to the Nürburgring, because we're not resting anytime soon this month. Now, has the checkered flag come out straight away, or will we get some fastest lap? No, as I suspected, Tony's got the checkered flag out. There will be no improvement So it is a Ford Multimatic Motorsport Ford Mustang GT3 lockout on the front row here in Detroit, in the shadow of one of their biggest rivals, GM, and their global headquarters. Ford and the Mustangs have stolen the front row away from the Corvettes. It's Ford, Lexus, BMW, and the best of the Corvettes, Tommy Milner, in 6th position. Pfaff Motorsport showed in 7th, and I think that's a genuine position. I think that's with the lap removed. They caused a red flag in free practice 1, so they'll lose their best lap. Behind that, AO Racing in the Porsche Corvette number 3, Vassar Sullivan's 2nd RCF, and of course Dragon Speed, Rasmus Lind, having caused the red flag, lost both of his fastest lap. He'll be at the back. Zach Anderson says, so they extended the session by 20 seconds. What was the point of that? They could barely get out the pit lane that time. The point, Zach, was that the regulations state that you've got to have 10 minutes of green flag racing to make the session legitimate. And so that's what they've done. Rasmus Lind, by the way, who only joined Dragon Speed this weekend, and given the qualifying duties, I suspect, to get a little more time in the car. Joining Albert Costa.
It's going to need a second.
And replacing Altoe in that car. Interesting. Here's an interesting question from Zach. Hello, Zach. Do the tall buildings create a swirling effect that affects the cars on the track? That's a very good point, actually. I haven't had a chance to speak to the teams about. I would suggest that other than down at the end of Jefferson Avenue, the long run from turn 2 to 3, the cars probably aren't up to a high enough speed for that to make much difference. But that's a fair point. So, Ford, Lexus, BMW, Chevrolet, Lamborghini, Porsche, Chevrolet, Lexus on the front 5 rows, with the Ferrari of Dragon Speed on the back. And now we come to one of, if not the most important qualifying sessions of the year for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship GTP cars, because track position here is so important. 15 minutes reset on the clock. Now, I'm just being reminded by race control that it will be Porsche number 7, both of the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillacs, who will lose their fastest laps in this session. So that loss of the bodywork did cause a red flag earlier on. So cars 7, 40 and 10 then all will be losing their fastest laps for causing a red flag during practice. Should anybody cause a red flag in this session, they'll lose both of their fastest laps. So far this season, there's only been one pole sitter, and that has been the Team RLL BMW, and that has been one driver in that car, Dries Vanthoor, in the number 24. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Just waiting for the green flag here. The number 24 BMW ran on a couple of times at turn 1 in free practice 1. Free practice 2, excuse me. In fairness, that wasn't unique among cars. 85, Jimmy Bruni did it a couple of times at turn 1, so did the number 10 Wayne-Taylor Cadillac, so did the number 40 Wayne-Taylor Cadillac, so did the Aston Martin. Actually, both BMWs ran on at turn 1, managed to get out the pits okay. We are underway. Hello to everyone who's joining us, wherever you are around the world. The Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre in effect again. We'll pick the whole thing up and move it to Le Mans for next weekend. Also, with an eye, of course, on Mid-Ohio for the IMSA event there. As sports car fans, we are truly spoilt for choice in the next few weeks. The 4-hour Michelin Pilot Challenge race coming next weekend. Also, Porsche Carrera Cup North America, Wheeler Mazda MX-5 Cup, as well as that Le Mans test on the Sunday, and then it's Le Mans, then it's the Nürburgring 24 as well. That the same weekend as the Salem 6 hours of the Glen. We'll be splitting our teams up for that as well, so that you don't miss a moment of your favourite style of racing. Teams and drivers getting up to speed. It's Matt Campbell in Porsche Penske Motorsport number 6, Nick Tandy in the team car, the 7, Philippe Albuquerque for Wayne-Taylor Racing number 10, Roman De Angelis in the glorious sounding Aston Martin, the Harter Racing car, the Valkyrie, Dries Vanthoor, of course, in the 24 BMW, Mr. Poleman this year, Sheldon von der Linde in the number 25 BMW M Team RLL, Jack Aitken for Wayland Cadillac number 31, the red fronted car, Louis Delatraz for Wayne-Taylor Racing's number 40, Tom Blomqvist for Acura and the ERX06 number 60, Jimmy Bruni for JDC, and Nick Yellerly for the 93 Acura. So Nick Tandy puts the first time in, it's not representative. Revving to the max there. It's PW and Dries Vanthoor going to remain perfect. Lap record in the race here, a 1:05.8. Our lap record in GT3 was a 1:09.8. And we got to Sebring 1:10, so not too far, about a second away, and that was slightly curtailed. Nick Tandy to the top, he's going to lose his best lap, so he really needs to get a wiggle on here with just on 11 minutes remaining. Tandy in the black pinstripe number 7 car, grounding out down Jefferson as he heads to the little cutout which forms turn number 3, effectively doubling back onto the other side of the carriageway for the short run to the right-hander going downhill onto Bates Street. That's a tough corner, that downhill, and the camber doesn't help you. Another 90-degree left, opens out as you turn in on the Atwater, then through, this is the old track, through the little right-left chicane. Restaurants on the left-hand side, over the brow there, easy to clip the wall, and that's what happened earlier on for this number 7 car. Now the heavy braking area with turn 8. Up into St. Antoine Street. And then the right-hander into Franklin. And Tandy goes to a 1:07.753. So he's quickest at the moment. And Sheldon van der Linde eclipses his teammate for a moment. Dries Vanthoor was the quickest, but Sheldon van der Linde might yet break the stranglehold on pole positions this year for Dries Vanthoor, as the number 25 car leads the 24, two BMWs ahead of Tandy's number 7. Then it's Matt Campbell in the number 6. That's the second of the Porsche Penske Motorsport. Comes down through the S's of Atwater Street onto the waterfront. That's 6 and 7 into the middle of the road, and then across to the right-hand side, down through the gearbox at turn 8. Straight on is where the old track used to go. Pit entrance on the right, stays to the left, cuts back onto Franklin. Under the Chevrolet walk-over bridge, he'll dart to the right-hand side before turning on to Rebound Street. And the Firestone branded area of the circuit, which is all red and white, and now an open left-hander, onto Jefferson as he accelerates away. 1:07.149 for Sheldon van der Linde from Nick Tandy, who split the BMWs now with a 1:07.3. First time I've noticed the champion spark plugs on the livery on the front of that BMW, running the 50th anniversary of BMW North America for this anniversary season. How about Roman De Angelis in the Heart of Racing Valkyrie in 5th position at the moment for the biggest cubic capacity engine, non-turbocharged, non-hybrid, the only non-hybrid car in the race this weekend, as Tandy goes to a 6.9. And Tandy knows he's got to put several fast laps in, and Vanthoor goes quicker by 0.2 of a second. And Sheldon van der Linde goes into second, and Vanthoor's run on. Vanthoor's run on at turn 1. Now he's got to get going. He's reversed out right in front of the number 31 of Jack Aitken and the number 40 of Louis Delatraz. Reversing contra race rather than spinning the car around in that tight confines of the run-on Franklin. And how close was Tandy to the end of the pit wall before he turned into turn 1 last time around? Well, he didn't hit it, so it doesn't matter. So down to 6.5 minutes remaining. We need 90 seconds to make this one a valid session without having to extend. I think Dries Vanthoor was just caught out by the bumps. Yeah, he was heading towards the apex of the corner, but not in a good way. Sorry, the outside of turn 1, but not in a good way. And smartly decided to back out, open his hands, and go into the runoff. De Angelis was in 5th position, now in 8th. The car just got closer and closer to the front of the field every session at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Notwithstanding that the cars at the front were getting quicker, so did the Heart of Racing number 23. This incredible sounding 6-litre V12 normally aspirated engine, which in the street version of the car produces a kick in the whatnots away from 1100 horsepower. Has to be turned down to race. You're only allowed 700 horsepower, but no hybrid as the other GTPs do. This is the first and so far the only entry into IMSA using the ACO top class rule set, the hypercar rule set. all called GTP here. When we go to Le Mans next weekend for the test, everything will be called hypercar, including the LMDH, the IMSA, effectively TPI 2.0. The GTP cars will be known as LMH cars when we get there. So two very different philosophies of prototype racing cars being equalised in what was called convergence, and we're starting to see the fruits of that bear here at IMSA. I've had it for a while in the FIA We've seen incredible 21 cars from 9 different manufacturers at Le Mans, and a spin for Jimmy Bruni down at the first corner. Just the hairpin, sorry, second corner, the end of the long straight. Jimmy gets that going, doesn't cause a red flag. And Nick Yellerly for Acura. I said this was a Honda track. Nick Yellerly in the number 93, red, white and black Acura ARX06 has just taken provisional pole position with a 106.2. Now, as Dries Van Toor down in third position, fully 3.5 tenths away. Has he got anything? As Yellerly's on another quick one. Down to the hairpin at turn 2 at the end of Jefferson Avenue. Turns hard left. Cuts back across the left-hand side of the circuit, down into Bay Street, dropping quite steeply downhill here for a street circuit. Now onto Atwater Street, a little bit of a opened out exit to that corner now through the S's onto the waterfront. He's got traffic ahead of him at the moment. That's the number 31 of Jack Aitken in the Cadillac. Aston Martin has run on as well in turn 1. That's where those cars are going to be arriving anytime soon. The yellow flags are out. Roman De Angelis doesn't move. Did that affect Yellerly's lap? And indeed, did it affect Jack Aitken's lap as well? Yellerly a 106 flat. It's gone quicker again. Sheldon van der Linde and Tom Blomqvist improved as well before those yellow flags. So Blomqvist now up into third position. Acura, BMW, Acura, Porsche, BMW. Our super pole winner, Dries Van Toor, languishing in 5th position and half a second away. Then it's Nick Tandy for Porsche. Then 3 Cadillacs in a row. Wayne Taylor, Whelan and Wayne Taylor with the Aston Martin pitting now. Now there will be some drop times to come because of cars that caused red flags earlier today in FP1 and 2, free practice 1 and 2. Hello to Liam Harrow, listening to qualifying while mowing his lawn before he leaves to do some club racing at New Jersey Motorsport Park. Oh, how close to the wall. Oh, touching the wall for the number 93 of Nick Yellerly, our provisional pole sitter, a lap or so ago. Well, he's exploring the outer limits of this 1.645 mile circuit. Hello to Jack Reed, who's got his mate Austin to start watching IMSA this weekend. He says, I've told him he's not going to regret it. Well, there's bound to be action here. If we go full green, and we have done here, then it'll be an absolute cracker. Another fastest lap, 65.9 seconds for Nick Yellerly in the number 93 Acura. My goodness me. That is right on lap record pace, race lap record pace. Nick Tandy last year with a 1:05.8. That was the one and only time the GTPs came here. It was Michelin Pilot Challenge the year before. Oh, checkered flag is out. Now, as Dries Vanthoor now in 6th position, as Matt Campbell falls above his teammate. Championship leader Tandy will be no better than 5th. He's taking the checkered flag. Matt Campbell takes the checkered flag in 4th. So Porsche Penske Motorsports 6 and 7 in 4th and 5th. Sheldon van der Linde for BMW is only going to be 2nd. What about Dries Vanthoor and Tom Blomqvist? Jack Aitken is 7th. Nick Yellerly takes the checkered flag and goes faster again. 105.762. It's all about the red, white and black of the number 93 car. Outstanding stuff for Nick Yellerly. And if he can repeat that in the race, that would be a new lap record. And it's 1-2 for Acura. A 105.9 for Tom Blomqvist. Just as Ford have locked out the GTD Pro front row, Acura have locked out the GTPs. Well, Acura won here last year, but not with this team, because this team wasn't here last year. It was Wayne Taylor Racing. Indy car has been dominated here on this version of the circuit by Honda-powered cars, and so it is today for qualifying for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Nick Yellerly and Tom Blomqvist for Acura, 93 and 60, provisionally on the front row, subject to post-qualifying technical inspection from 2 BMWs. Sheldon van der Linde out-qualifies Dries Vanthoor for the first time this season, 25 from 24. Dries Vanthoor for the first time this season not on pole position. He'll start on the outside of row 2. Then the 2 Porsche Penske Motorsport cars, 6 from 7. Matt Campbell from championship leading 7 squad, headed up by Nick Tandy today. Then 3 Cadillacs, and it's Whelen Cadillac and Jack Aitken on the inside of row 4, with Philippe Albuquerque for Wayne Taylor Racing on the outside of row 4. And row 5 is Louis Delatraz in the number 40 Cadillac from Jimmy Bruni for JDC Miller Motorsports. And in 11th, it'll be the heart of racing, Aston Martin Valkyrie. Well, well, well. What an absolutely enthralling qualifying session that went all green for the IMSA GTP cars. 105.762 for Nick Yellerly, and that was on his 13th lap on the Michelin tyres. That bodes very well for pace and longevity tomorrow in the race. Just a reminder, it is a Saturday race. Check your local listings for details. A lockout of the front row by Acura. Honda have prevailed in the very heartland of American automotive in Motortown. Well, well. Then 2 BMWs, then 2 Porsches, and the first American brand is the Cadillac of Jack Aitken in 7th position. A second off on a 66-second lap. That's actually quite a big gap. We're not used to seeing that. Reminder, earlier on today, upholding American honour, Seb Prio planted the number 64 Ford Multimatic Mustang GT3 on pole position for GTD Pro, and proving that Ford Multimatic Motorsport are preparing 2 very similar cars. Chris Meese will join him on the front row ahead of Lexus, BMW, Chevrolet Corvette and Lamborghini, with Porsche, Chevy, Lexus and Ferrari making up the 22 car field. There we are then, ladies and gentlemen. My thanks to Aaron in Concords at NASCAR Productions for being the voice of sanity in my ear, to all of our camera operators around the circuit in downtown Detroit. We'll be back for the Michelin Countdown to Green in plenty of time to give you all the stories before we go racing for 100 minutes tomorrow on the streets of Detroit. live on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. I'm John Hindhaugh. Have a great Friday.